Hello, everybody.
What is up, people? Welcome back to our channel.
Yes, I'm Sheila.
And I'm Ruel. And welcome to the CommoNurse podcast.
Yay!
And for those who are just joining us in this episode,
This is the 6th episode.
Yes.
Or 5th. We're not sure yet.
Yeah, we're not sure yet. Anyway, yeah, we'll look it up for you guys.
Yes.
So what we basically do in the channel is just talk about our experience being, again, immigrant nurses.
Yep. And we migrated from Philippines to Australia. So
Yay.
Philippines represent. Da, 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 da. Woo! And of course, now that we are Australian citizens, Australia represent. Woohoo! All right.
All right. So what are we going to talk about today?
Oh, tonight's going to be very interesting, lovely, because we are going to tell the people why we chose our podcast name.
Why CommoNurse?
Because we're still CommoNurse.
Yeah. Look,
We're still
there's like close to 8 billion people in the world, and yeah, you're just one of them.
Yeah, true.
Regardless of where you are or how big you think you are, or regardless of how big your achievements are,
Yep.
To some, you're still a commoner.
Yeah, true. So it's like a pun, guys. I think brilliantly Ruel
I don't
came
know.
up.
I'm pretty sure someone else had thought of this idea before, but anyway.
Really?
I don't know.
But
I didn't
thought-
look it up.
No. Well, you told me that you wanted this podcast name, and I was like agreeing to it because it actually has a ring to it, guys.
Yeah.
Like if you speak
It is
the
relatable.
common, it's actually
A wordplay.
a word play, and there's a pun behind it because it's like common nurse. So despite of us being in different fields, we're still commoners.
Yeah.
Like common as in like ordinary nurses, and also
Ordinary
like
people.
commoners like poor nurses because we're still struggling. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Kind of. Okay. But yeah, that's what basically our podcast
So
is.
what made you agree to the name?
Well, again, as I've said, there's a nice ring to it.
Okay.
And like we're not mediocre nurses. I mean, we're awesome nurses, but at the end of the day, we are relatable.
Did
I
someone
believe
ever
so.
tell you you're an awesome nurse, or you're just claiming that?
I am claiming that because of course I have to believe in myself. No
That's
one's
the
gonna
way.
believe. No one's gonna believe in me.
Yep.
Like, I'm just gonna share this thought because
I would just like to second that thought. Like, yeah, you actually have to believe in yourself that you can do good
Yep,
for you to actually do good.
exactly right. And I'm just gonna share this story because it happened last night. A lot of people, guys, when you start working, I believe not just in nursing, I think in different field of life, someone or some senior people or some people like your bosses would actually undermine you. And this would actually happen to anyone else, okay? It's not just like it's like a common thing, but I guess, there's still some people who will actually act up as like a senior person. Like for example, yesterday, an example, last night. So I worked last night, and then one of the doctors, I reckon, I don't know her name. I don't want to know her name, but she's rude. So just to put it out there, be kind to your workmates because you work as a team. You don't undermine people. Like just because you're a doctor, you know everything. You're a know-it-all.
So what made you say that they undermine you?
Because her tone of voice, she was asking, she was actually telling us like how it felt sometimes, like you're being like you are thought like a slave or something, like you're just someone who just carry out orders just because you're a nurse. Okay, you know what I mean? Like I know there is some tasks that needs to be done, but you know what?
So what did she do? Does she claim that some of what you did?
Well, this is not with
she-
me. Well, part of it is with me, like one of my patients, but I didn't allow her to undermine me because
So she
I've
claimed all the effort or something?
not claimed all the effort, but she will tell you what to do. But then I feel like I felt like that she thinks that I don't know what I'm doing. Does that
Oh,
make
okay.
sense? But one incident happened. I'm just gonna share this. I apologize for my workmate if you're listening to this, but she did this to her. So we've got a patient who's coming in with high pulse rate. So we call it like a tachycardia. She's her heart rate is racing up to 140s, 150s. It's gonna be a story, guys. Sorry. And then she was
That's what
like,
we're here for.
exactly. And so what happened was we are supposed to give her some medication that would help her with lowering that heart rate down. Because if you're a normal person,
Normal adult.
normal adult, your heart rate would be around 50s to not more than 100. But hers is like 140s.
But even 50, that's like for athletes already.
Yeah, true.
Isn't
But
it 60 to
it's
100?
the normal
Yeah.
normal range that's what I'm saying. That's acceptable. But it depends on like, your circumstance. So going back to the story, so her presentation wise is that she's having palpitations and she's having tachycardia, we call it, guys, in medical terms. And so that doctor ordered some blood tests. And so my colleague did a blood test, and then I was just passing by. And like, you just randomly hear things because ED is quite loud. It's not like, you so what she did
The walls
was,
are echoing.
yeah, but no, there's no walls in ED. But the thing is it I felt like the way she delivered her commentaries to my colleague, it's for me, it's very unprofessional, and I
Okay.
think it's rude because she's saying, no, 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 no. You know what? I'll tell you what to do. This is how you do blood test. She was correcting my colleague in front of the patient.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
That is foul.
Yeah.
In any professional background, guys, I really suggest, even for us, like even with us, I would suggest that you actually take comments or actually reprimand your colleague in a private manner. Pull your colleague aside or pull that person aside. Talk to her kindly, like, hey, I appreciate that you did the bloods, but you know what? Next time you can do it this way because this is the proper way. You do the blue tube first before the pink
Yeah.
one, before the green one. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
you go
there's
from light to dark. Basically.
exactly. But she was reprimanding her in front of the
Yeah,
patient.
that's a good.
And the consequence thereafter, baby, that's what this story is about.
You felt
because
like you're shamed.
yes,
of.
exactly. She was embarrassed in front
Yeah, I
of
would be
that
too.
patient. And like for me, I was just passing by. I felt sorry for her. So I spoke to her inside the med room. Like, I think that doctor is rude to you. And so I was like, that's just me speaking out of my mind because I think she did that to me as well. But I didn't give her the chance to actually be rude to me because I showed her that I know what the fuck I'm doing. You know what? that feeling like
Yeah.
you have to be. You
You have
have
to assert yourself that you know what you're doing.
exactly, and you have to actually be confident that
Yeah.
hey, you don't tell me what to do because I've been doing this for a long, long time. And we work together. I'm not your slave. That's what I'm saying. So anyway, going back to her, and the consequence of what happened was she was trying to give this medication to actually help lower that heart rate down. And that patient kept asking her, trying to ask what the medication was, what the thing was. My colleague is actually explaining things to her, and I've been listening to her. She's trying to explain what the medication is all about. And so the consequence of that doctor's action actually second guesses that patient's confidence into her nurse. Does that make sense?
Say that again.
So the consequence of the doctor's action in
Yeah.
reprimanding her in front of the patient made the patient second guess or doubt
The
her
ability, yeah.
the ability
the
of
nurse. Yeah.
the nurse
Yeah.
to actually look after her. And that's not nice because you know what? At the end of the day, who else is gonna like that? For me, that's a cat 2 patient. For me, I would be that you're my priority. I want to help that heart rate calm down. Yeah, I know. I want it down because I like look. there's always red flags in all the vital signs that I've seen. And as far as I know, working in ED, I want it to be in the normal range just for me to be able to prioritize my patients. And she was acute. And don't get me wrong, that medication really helped her. She was given metoprolol, she was given magnesium. And like, look, she tried her best to try and explain things. But this is the thing, guys. That's why we're doing this podcast, because she's also an immigrant. English is not her first language. And I think trying to explain things to her patient
To
is
the best of
also
her abilities.
to the best of her abilities. Also, sometimes your pronunciation is wrong.
Yeah.
Sometimes your explanation is wrong. Sometimes it will come out the wrong way.
You have to be careful about that though.
Exactly.
If your explanation is wrong.
You have to. But again, that's what I'm saying. She
But
tried her
that's
best.
where confidence plays its part though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She was trying to be confident, babe.
Yeah.
But
the doctor took it away from her. So.
exactly. So again, that's why I'm being firm now, guys. I'm quite I'm actually like quite a bit what do you call this?
Emotional. Tense.
Yeah, tense in a way, because it did affect me as well, because I felt sorry for my colleague. Like, if it was me, I would be embarrassed. I would be like, lupa, lamunin mo na ako. Please. Because it's not nice. I mean,
So did she finish her shift?
she did. But you know what? The sad fact that she told me was, you know what, sister? I was just glad that I was handing over that patient, because she wasn't nice to me at all. Like, look, we try our best to look after everyone. And with that, like, please don't be rude to your nurses, because your nurses we're the ones who are actually carrying out the doctor's order.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that we don't prioritize you if you're not too acute, but the fact that we're there, we got our registration, we worked hard for that one. Like, seriously, we studied what? Like, for us, doubled, because we started overseas and we started nursing here.
No, but just going back there quickly.
Yeah.
I have a certain level of tolerance to people who actually have
Bullshit
those.
you?
No, like who have
Or-
those kind of behavior. Like, I think she meant well, but it's just that the way it came out wasn't too nice. So I actually have, I don't know if this is called a virtue or not, but I'm actually pro towards, like, I'm actually listening to what you're saying and not
Yep.
how you say it. That's my daily thing.
Y-
That's why I don't get easily offended, because I try to rationalize what you're actually saying rather than focusing on how you said it.
Yeah,
Because
I
at the end
get
of the
that.
day, we came up from different upbringings,
Backgrounds,
different backgrounds.
Mhm.
So I have to put that into consideration as well, not just how I felt,
Exactly.
but also what you've been through. So that's probably why I'm just chill at work.
Yeah. But I get what you meant, and also I would take the word tolerance, because I do have that one as well. I am always
Not with me though.
Yeah, well, don't tolerate your bullshit. But the fact that I'm nice at work, I try to actually, like, look after the doctors, look after everyone, apart from, your priority is your patient safety, but you also look after yourself, your colleagues,
Yeah.
the doctors, the people that you work with. I even say hi and hello to our cleaners, to our kitchen ladies, because
Good on you.
yeah. Because you know what?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they're glad to see me. Like, oh, hi, sister, good morning. And they would say, oh, sister, how are you? Like, they're pleased to see me, because I'm one of those person who actually care and actually make
Look,
them feel that they matter.
At the end of the day, we're not perfect. I bet you there would
Exactly.
be days
Exactly
we
where
would
I'm.
be in the exact same position as
Yep.
that doctor, where we wanted to say something nice, but because we're frustrated towards something,
Yep.
so just things would
And-
come out in a way where it would be offensive to someone.
Exactly.
So,
But then
yeah.
again, going back to the tolerance, so I tried to actually rationalize like what you
Yeah.
did. I tried to actually understand her, but the fact that she kept going on and on,
Kill
I
them
guess
with kindness.
I know, and that's what I did. But I also don't want to come out like I don't know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
because I let her decide what she thought of me.
Mm.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
because she's gonna tell me what to do, and then I'm just gonna follow what she does, and like, what she wanted me to do. I'm like, yeah, but there's
Can I
this.
ask you a question?
Yes.
Did you feel insecure?
No, I'm
Okay.
not,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, I know I respect her as a
Mm.
doctor, and hence every time I approach her, I always start with, "Hi, doctor. This is your patient. Do you know you want us to do this and that and do this and that?"
Mm.
And she was like, also one thing, like I did not exist
Did she make a
there.
face? Is it
Yeah,
she?
yeah.
It's a she.
She's making a face. She's making
Yeah.
like unnecessary comments that for me it's very unprofessional.
Mm.
And one thing also,
That's not nice.
she did a blood test and she did a BVG. One thing about BVG that I was taught in during my in service and during my actual like training or
Mm.
competency is that you have to agitate that venous blood gas because it will clot. So she just left it there, and then she was trying to tell the patient like, "Hey, when that nurse comes back, can you tell to do a BVG?" And she just left it there, and that patient is bleeding. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Like, I was there. She could have just asked me like, "Hey nurse, are you available? Can you please run this BVG for me?" I could have done that. And then so I came up to her and I said, "Oh, do you want me to do anything, doctor?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, just the BVG." Like, all right. No thank yous, no nothing. And she kept discharging my patient like, "Oh, she's going home. I just need the cannula out." I'm like, "Okay, again, not your slave."
Mm.
All right. I have a certain kindness and tolerance to all the BS that's been happening. I know you don't have a good day. Probably it's you're not in a good mood. That's fine with me. But please try to also put yourself into other people's shoes. Like, how would you feel if I keep asking you to do things?
Mm.
Like, you were just being bossy. All
Yeah.
right. So sorry guys. So far
A
from
bit too emotional there.
I know too much
Alright.
ranting, but I hope you get the point, guys,
Yeah.
of why we're doing this podcast, because we're also trying to make you understand that we're coming from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, same as everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, moving on. So we've already
Finally.
shared why we decided to call ourselves the CommoNurse podcast.
Yeah.
So
Because we're just common. Okay. Yeah.
okay,
there's no sign.
moving on.
Yeah.
So we've already briefly touched base about this, but what else? Like, what are the common struggles of being an immigrant nurse on a day-to-day basis
Okay.
that you've experienced?
Well, like the topic that we've discussed earlier, the language, communication.
Yeah, that's a given.
Yeah.
But at
Yeah.
least you should try your best, because
Exactly.
being an immigrant nurse, you have to do your English.
What?
English.
English. Again, English is not our first language. Sorry.
Like you have to do your
good.
English exam
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you to be even considered competent to be registered to
Exactly.
practice in a.
And we did that.
Yeah.
We did
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So.
So people should know as well, if you're coming from, like, say, first world country or English speaking background, we are trying. Okay. Like we did actually try and study and try to practice our English just to convey a message and also just to communicate better when we move here. I know, right? Like, hello,
All right.
hence the accent.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a given. That's probably at the top of the list.
Well, yeah, you agree, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's
would agree.
communication, yeah.
But at least try your best.
Yeah.
Like, don't what's the term? Where you just settle.
Yeah, don't settle.
Don't settle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always try to improve.
Mm-hmm.
Like eventually, like you'll get the accent. Like it's not necessary, but if you keep on practicing every day, just it'll come out naturally. Unfortunately.
But you know what? I think I've said this to you a lot of times as well, that I have always received compliments that, hey, you've got you're fluent in English. Like, do you speak English back home? I'm like,
I was like,
yeah,
no,
we were taught in English. Yeah.
you had to study English from like kindergarten to
Yeah. Yeah, from
college uni.
kindy to
Yeah.
to uni, and everything was taught in English.
It's always
Like
part of the curriculum.
yes, and we seldom even have Filipino unless it's it's part of the like
Yeah.
what was it, like the essential prerequisite
Prerequisite. Yeah.
yeah, prerequisite subject. So there you go.
Yeah. We're still proud.
Yeah.
Filipino.
So yeah, Filipino, and you ask everyone. Most Filipino would try to actually communicate better. Even back home, they would try and speak English to like foreigners, even
Yeah.
though
To
their
the
English to the best of their ability,
Mm.
and even though their English is like, oh, you want to eat, sir, sir, eat, eat.
Just how Joko does it when
Yeah.
he does his jokes. Yeah,
Like you elevate the pit, elevate.
you'll be copyrighted with that joke.
Sorry.
Just kidding.
No, but that was real though. That was
Yeah.
that's why it's funny because
Mm,
we're
it's
nurses.
very relatable.
Yeah, we're
That's
nurses and it's relatable. Like you have to elevate the pit. All right.
What else? What else?
I've said one. How about you? What else? What can you think of this?
That
Riddle?
was gonna be my answer too. Sorry, guys, we didn't practice this. Just
well,
comes
this
out
is a
impromptu.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a podcast.
Can you rescue me? Can you think of anything else at the moment?
Um.
Oh no, I've thought of something now. But we can probably talk about this in a different podcast. But I'll quickly touch base.
Yeah.
Um.
You can do this. You can do this. One.
This with them English.
two.
Probably the way we were practicing back then,
What are you practicing?
like how we practice nursing overseas
Okay.
to now.
All right. So nursing practice.
Yeah.
Clinical practice.
Clinical
Okay.
practice, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There's probably practice overseas that are, I don't know,
Like a bit different.
Different.
Yeah. Different.
like we're used to doing it differently back home compared to here,
Yep.
and like it's still engraved in our mind, like as to how we do it in there, and then we get confused whenever we see
different
like,
practice.
in here.
Yeah. Changes in the practice in here. But yeah, I get what you mean. So we're gonna discuss that in a different
Rescue
podcast.
me, but I'm struggling to express it out. But
yeah, but we're gonna discuss it in a different podcast. I think this is where our like we would like to compare nursing in Australia versus nursing in the Philippines. So
or anywhere in the world in general.
yeah, or anywhere
Yeah.
in the world.
If there's anyone out there that can be a guest for that topic, you're more than welcome to reach out to us.
Yeah, true. And I guess we are just gonna in the best of our ability, we are just gonna discuss.
I think we've used
The
that phrase too
comparison.
much already for this episode.
Okay, and the best of our ability every start of the topic. Okay.
But yeah.
yeah.
It's like
But yeah, we will try to compare in a way that it's coming from our experience and from our journey. But then yeah, we'll also try to welcome guests that would try to also share their stories. Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
hang on. Give an example to what I was trying to say.
So the changes. Well, I guess I would start with the resources because the fact that some nursing here in Australia, our resources are readily available.
Yeah.
Compared to the Philippines,
Readily available, and like you just have
you
a
just
ton of resources.
yeah, you just have to access it. That's it. But in the Philippines, we don't. I would like to give an example. In a way, we do ECG. Here, it's like easy peasy because we use like a sticky dots that we call it,
Yeah.
dots or ECG
Stickers,
dots.
yeah.
Yep, and then we just place it in the patient's chest. But back in the Philippines, correct me if I'm wrong. If we're still practicing this, guys, kaway naman dyan, or comment down below. But we used to use a machine that uses like a suction.
Suction tip, yeah.
The suction.
But no, I think it's kind of different to what I was trying to say, because
Okay.
the procedure is still kind of the same. It's just the equipment that we're using is different, but technically how you do
okay.
it is still the same.
Right.
I'm just trying to think, have we ever used like drawing up needles overseas when we prepare IV meds?
No.
Or at least from where we practice in the Philippines. I
don't think. Yeah.
I don't think we've prepared.
I think we're using the needles that we're
yeah.
using for stabbing.
Yeah.
The same.
Yeah.
But because
Because
it's pricey, guys, for us, and I don't think we have it available before.
I can't remember seeing one before.
Yeah,
There probably
same.
is, but yeah, since we're broke,
Yeah, same. Exactly.
like
So
so, I
again,
was kind of
it's going back to the resources that we don't have back then.
because I think one time when I was still a student and I was it was my first time
Yep.
when I was doing student placement,
Yep.
first time drawing up
Mm-hmm.
an IV medication in here,
Yep.
and I've used like a sharp needle instead
Mm-hmm.
of a blunt one
Mm-hmm.
for while prepping it,
Yeah.
and I was told, oh, why are you using that one? Make use of the blunt needle
Exactly.
to prep your meds. So I was like,
Yeah.
why? I was like, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they have the resources,
Mm.
and it's the right way.
Yeah, fair enough.
If you think of infection control, yes, you have to do it because
Plus, I guess it's less painful because you wouldn't alter the sharpness of the needle. By the time you penetrate the skin, it's
exactly.
still sharp. It's not blunt. So
Yeah. And also, like, for example, like prevention of needle stick injuries
while prepping it, yeah.
while prepping it, because look, ours is still a bit pointy at times. I can still see like a pointed tip on it, but it's not as bad, like not really really sharp. But yeah, I guess I think
Yeah, I've never
I can-
realized that before coming here. Like,
yeah.
because you have to insert that sharp needle multiple times on different vials. So eventually, that sharp tip would, I don't know.
Yeah.
What's the term?
Would go blunt.
Not necessarily, but less sharp. Maybe I don't know what's the more appropriate term for it. Yeah.
Yeah, or I guess
So by the time you inject it,
it will go
it'll
blunt.
sting a little bit more.
Yeah, I'll go blunt. But
Call it what it is.
yeah. What else? Yeah, I get what you mean, but look, guys, if we're not conveying it properly, please comment down below. Maybe you can help us out.
Yeah, what practices that you had in the Philippines, and
Yep.
then there's a profound difference when you started or attempted to do it in the country that you're
Yep.
currently in at the moment.
But I just also want to add that hence we studied here in Australia because my rationale was when I came here, I really want to learn the ways, how they do nursing
Yeah.
here in Australia, just so I won't have that big culture shock when I start my practice after I finish uni. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because like, you know, you finish, you graduated nursing overseas and then you practiced here in Australia and it's totally different. But again, guys, all their practices here in Australia are evidence-based. They seldom practice
Very
things.
evidence-based.
Yeah, very evidence-based and they're very like
They
up to date, which is
seldom-
I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They seldom consider change that doesn't have any science backing.
Yep.
Really. Like
Yeah.
before they try something, it has to be like there should be a lot of research behind it first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we should just try to add another struggle.
Oh, I
Can-
remember the terminologies.
What?
Like the abbreviated terms.
Oh yeah, true.
Like I probably can't say any or like cite an example at the moment, but
Mm-hmm.
the one that stood out was Biba.
Biba. Ah, yeah.
Like I've never encountered that abbreviation before. It's like when I was
Well,
reading notes, Biba,
What's
capital
Biba?
B-I-B,
Yeah.
and then
Brought
I
in
was
by
looking,
ambulance.
brought in by ambulance. But it's like I've never encountered that before.
Yeah, same. I think
What
we,
else can you think of? There's quite a few of them.
There-
Like
there's
they
a
love
lot.
abbreviating stuffs in here.
Yeah, there's actually a lot. But I guess we should talk about that in different
Yeah.
podcasts. 'Cause
Like
it's a lot,
I have
guys.
another one like
Yeah.
OBS.
Obs.
Like
OBS. Observations.
no, in the Philippines, like we were so used
to VS.
to calling it VS or vital signs.
Yep.
And then in here one time I got asked, "Oh, can you do OBS on that patient in bed 1 or 2?"
Yep.
And I was like, "OBS." It's like, what do you mean to do? Just look at him and observe what he's doing. I was like, ah, God, that
There
was
you
so
go.
embarrassing.
There you go.
Well, things that you experience when you're doing your first placement
Exactly. And
after practicing for like more than 3 years overseas, and then here
yeah.
you do things a lot different. So there's a lot to learn. Basically.
Yeah. In that note, I want to add, I think this is going to be the last one of the struggles that we experience as immigrant nurses, is the culture shock. Can I add it that way?
In what way?
Because like what you said, like the things that we do before is totally different on how they do things here. Like
Hand
how
over indoors.
exactly. Yeah. It's well, nursing wise, yes, there's like heaps of different
Mm.
terminologies that we are just, not used to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, like culture shock, like how different it was here.
Mm.
For me, like the struggle, definitely the confidence to actually look after a patient, because again, English is hard. No,
Yeah.
English is hard. A lot of things as well that, I kept. Oh, this is the thing. I kept being told not to apologize because I
Mm.
kept saying sorry
Yeah.
every
Same.
time. Because I guess it's our culture. Like most Filipinos are very apologetic, even though we haven't done anything wrong yet. I think it's just in our nature to be, I I guess, be humble and be like sensitive of how people would feel. Like I
Mm.
would always start to
Oops. Oh,
apologize
hang on.
already. I would apologize already for the things that I haven't done. For example, if I'm about to put a cannula in, I would say, "Oh, sorry, I have to stab you." And I kept being told off about that. Like, stop apologizing because you're just doing your job. But again, for me, it's culturally, for me, it's fine because that's how I was raised. You know what I mean? Yeah. What else? What other culture shock experience do you remember, lovely? Yes,
Mm.
Baba. Yes, Baba.
I
Come on.
can't cite any. Just trying to think. I was distracted by water for a second there. Sorry.
Yep.
Um.
10, 9.
Like I got
Count.
nothing. I got nothing at the moment. I do have a few in mind, but I'd rather talk about them in a different
Yep.
episode because I would like to elaborate on them more. Because remember,
Yeah,
we're trying
good.
to limit this to 30 minutes plus only.
Oh my god, but I think we just
Yeah,
had a good fun
yeah,
during the first
yeah.
part. Okay.
You definitely you
Oh well, I
had
think I
some
just had to let it out of my chest.
emotional
Be-
experience to share.
yeah, but because I just had to let it out. I think people should actually hear my thoughts
Yeah,
about that
yeah.
one, and I guess it's quite relevant. So yeah, let's just put it out there.
Mm.
Now, do you want to continue with this, or I think we'll just do two parts of this?
Yeah, we'll try and talk about this some other day. But
Yeah.
how would you want to close this episode out? Would you like to encourage a few of our kababaans to try being a common nurse or an immigrant nurse?
Well, n- I won't encourage you to be common, but I would want you to be an excellent nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would encourage you to be an excellent nurse. Make yourself proud every time you go on
Yeah.
shift. Especially a big shout out to the nurses, or doctors and nurses in this profession. Always try to do your best. Be confident in what you do, and
Mm.
make sure that you you actually convey that message to your patient that you are knowledgeable enough. You know what you're doing, and at the end of the
And you
day,
care.
and you care.
Most importantly.
Yeah, you care, and you're
Yeah.
just trying to help them.
Mm.
Okay. um I guess I would encourage you to try. Our life here in Australia is not perfect, but our life is definitely interesting.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah,
And
edit that
again, we'll
out.
catch you in the next episode. I'm Ruel,
I'm Sheila,
and
and
this
we are
is
your
the CommoNurse podcast.
thank you.